plans to admit Russian figure skaters to the Olympic qualifying tournament. This was reported by Our Sport, citing sources familiar with the situation. According to one of the sources, the ISU should admit Russians and Belarusians to the new tournament, which will have the status of a qualifying tournament for the 2026 Olympics in Milan. According to the current rules, Russian and Belarusian figure skaters can apply for one quota in each event at ISU competitions, but this issue has not yet been fully resolved. It is possible that in the event of a positive decision, Russians and Belarusians will be able to take part in the remaining tournaments of the Olympic season, but at the moment, the ISU's priority is to resolve the issue with the Olympic Games and the selection for them. It is expected that the verdict should follow the results of the next in-person ISU Council, which will be held in March 2025 after the World Championships in Boston. Arena. Of course, this is good news. The world finally understands that they can't live without us. That's why they are now starting to correct their mistakes. Tatiana Tarasova. Of course, I believe that our skaters will be allowed to compete in the 2026 Olympics. Why not? We can't stand it any longer. They didn't disqualify us for life. But we were supposed to compete in each event with 3 people, and now we will compete with 1. Of course, it's better than not competing at all. Vyacheslav Fedosov. What is the reason for us to return? I don't think that the approach of the Winter Olympics is considered a reason to allow our athletes to participate, whether close or far from them. Sooner or later, we will return to international competitions. But we can't return in a neutral status. My opinion, only under the flag and anthem. It is unknown when this will happen. Unless the new IOC president changes his approach. Kamila Valieva shared what made her happy this year. The figure skater spoke to journalists after the New Song of the Year concert, where she was the host. What is the most useless advice you could give for the new year? I wouldn't want to give useless advice. What is useful? Be sure to call your family or celebrate the new year with your parents, because it's a family holiday. Do you make wishes for the new year? Of course. I hope they come true. How do I make wishes? I just make them up. What are we happy about this year? I'm very happy that I took to the ice arena in Tatiana Navka's ice shows, Valieva said. Valieva said that the sketches of her costumes for the show were created together with a neural network. For Tatiana Navka's show, the sketches of the costumes were created together with a neural network. It's interesting, it adds inspiration, more sketches and options. But, of course, regarding the costumes, there are many shortcomings that only a person can fix. Will a neural network be able to replace athletes? No, it's unlikely. It will be very sad. Said figure skater Kamila Valieva. 17-year-old figure skater Arina Kshetskaya has entered a new stage of her career. In the spring, the girl moved to Oleg Tatarov's group, and in October she got onto the podium of the St. Petersburg Cup. Maria Shregina talked to Arina and learned about her path in figure skating, recovery after a serious operation, readiness for ultra-SI elements, attitude to competition, motivation to skate, and plans for the future. How did you get into figure skating? Very trivial. When I was 3.5 years old, my mother brought me to classes. It was just her desire, not connected with any idols. She just wanted me to be a figure skater. I don't know what her big plans were for me. She never told me, laughs. I never asked, I went to training and that's it. I don't remember coaches saying anything about my future potential as a child, I just trained. I was 6 years old during the Sochi Olympics, and I already had my first idols, Yulia Lipnitskaya, Adelina Sotnikova, and the rest of the 2014 Russian national team. I don't remember much about my sports childhood in general. There were no training camps or anything. We just went to training with my parents. I started at Nevsky Ice, skated there for 1 year, then I was with Irina Lebedeva, the last 2 seasons in Olga Arsenieva's group, and this spring I moved to Oleg Stanislavovich. How strong is the competition in women's single skating now? I've always wanted to get to important competitions and win them, like any athlete. Since childhood, the same girls have been competitors at tournaments. We are all the same year of birth. The same people, nothing really changes. The competition was the same as in childhood, and it remains the same now. Does motivation not change over the years? Why are you skating now? Arina thought for a moment and laughed, but then a classmate came to the rescue. Figure skater Ludmila Forsova, so as not to go to school. If training instead of school, how are things with school? Everything is fine with it, I am homeschooled. I study at an online school, I am in the 11th grade, and have the Unified State exam. I am preparing to pass biology, Russian, and mathematics, and to apply to be a coach at NSU named after P.F. Leskaft, nowhere else. I see my future in coaching, I can't do anything else. Laughs. What does your jumping content consist of now? I jump all triples except the axel. We are currently training some things, time will tell. Readiness. 50%. You can expect anything in the future. When I was 11, I started learning the triple axel. At 12, I was already jumping it. I showed it at competitions. And then, due to surgery, it disappeared. I had to learn it again. The surgery was in 2021. I don't remember the diagnosis itself, but it seems to have been something related to Muller's disease. My leg hurt a lot for 3 years, 2018, 2021. Nothing was visible on X-rays and MRI. Only in mid-2021 was this disease discovered. The bone was fragmented, it had to be removed. It took quite a long time to recover, about 2 years. Do you think that media coverage is very important for a modern athlete? Media coverage? It is very important. My percentage is very low, I have few fans. I had a team support group, but I haven't maintained its social network since spring. Of course, I would like to have more popularity and support from the stands. I don't think it has to do with motivation, it's just that the attention of the fans is always nice. What can you tell me about your goals for the current season and the near future? What will you miss and what will you remember most vividly when you finish your sports career? My goal for this season is to skate clean programs. And like every year, to qualify for the St. Petersburg team for next season, that's also important. While I can, I skate. When I finish, I will remember everything, all the moments, both positive and negative. I keep all the medals, accreditations, toys. I often review my good performances, I think it motivates me well, and I want to work further. I have never been to international competitions, and I never had a goal to get there. I was still little. I never dreamed of it either. It is difficult to assess the changes that the internal seasons have brought. I rarely get to anything, it makes no difference. My selection of competitions has remained the same. Panin Kolomenkin Memorial, a stage of the Russian Grand Prix, the St. Petersburg and Russian Championships. For the prizes of the St. Petersburg Figure Skating Federation, stages, and the final of the St. Petersburg Cup. Now I have a new look at competitions, I have stopped being nervous. I get upset about unsuccessful results, but I am calmer about them both in training and in competitions. What is the atmosphere like in your group? Everything is good in our group, the coaches and classmates are wonderful, a very working atmosphere, I like everything. I train with Vlad Dikidze, we communicate well, he is kind and cheerful. I won't go into details, but my first meeting with him was interesting. Figure skater Vlad Dikidze. Arina is our girl, I love her very much, like all my comrades, she's great. Do you have a favorite figure skater? I can call Anya Sherbakova my favorite figure skater of our generation, but I don't have any photos with her or her autographs. I don't see the point in that, I don't need it. I don't treat figure skating from a fan point of view, only from a sports point of view.